Chismosas, I'm sure many of you guys have already heard the name Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and it's not for the best reason, so I want to talk about this because this is wild. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you guys. In the beginning, I don't think I fully understood what was happening because it was a lot of back and forth and a lot of information that was being thrown out there, but essentially Kilmar was deported to El Salvador, where basically they're deporting all of the most dangerous criminals, and they just did this without a second thought, and they immediately were like, oh, this man is MS-13, so we're gonna send him to El Salvador. And the thing is, if you first hear everything, you're like, okay, he was part of that GANG, and then they sent him over to El Salvador. It tracks. But when you actually pay attention to see what actually happened, the only information that they had that he was MS-13 is that he was wearing a Bulls hat and a Bulls sweater, and they were like, yep, that's just a clear indicator that he is a part of that GANG. Now, that is absolutely wild to me, and I'm sure if you guys ask anybody from Chicago, where I'm from, or anybody who is a Chicago Bulls fan, they would quickly tell you, what you mean that is a sign that he is a part of MS-13? Is all of Chicago part of MS-13? It don't make any sense. So obviously his wife came out and was like, he's not part of that GANG. He's a good man, he's a hard worker, and he's a good dad. So after this, people start investigating, trying to figure out what it was. So they're like, okay, if he's a part of the MS-13 GANG, then hey, United States, give us something, give us the proof, give us whatever you have that proves that he is a part of MS-13. And they could not come up with anything. And they're like, well, anyways, it's not even in our power anymore. We already sent him over to El Salvador. So then they go to El Salvador and they're like, hey, do you have any proof that this man is a part of MS-13? And they're like, no, we don't. So then obviously the question arises, okay, so if you guys can't prove that he is a part of this GANG, what are you doing? You gotta let him go. Then Cheeto is like, well, I have no control over it anymore. He is not even in the United States anymore, even though he's the one that put him in El Salvador. He's the one that deported him. He's like, that's out of my hands. So then they go to El Salvador, they go to their president, and they're like, okay, so, can you let him go because there's no proof? And like, you know what? We can't do that. President Cheeto is paying us a lot of money to keep these criminals in El Salvador, and that's what we're gonna do. So just from that, you can see that it's a whole mess. Nobody really wants to take accountability for what's going on, and nobody has really heard from Kilmar or even knows if he's alive, because nobody's giving any answers. The senator of Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, he was like, I'm gonna go to El Salvador and I'm gonna figure this out myself. Now he goes over there, and somehow, by the grace of God, he gets a hold of Kilmar and he's able to talk to him, send a message to his wife, and get all that done. Now, Van Hollen, he stood on business. This man was like, yo, I'm gonna do something, and he did it. He found him. Now, I don't know if they have necessarily released him or he's out of custody or not. I have definitely heard people say that has happened already, even though it hasn't been confirmed, but at the very least, we know that he is alive, and that's something that nobody knew before. Nobody had seen him. Nobody even got his side of the story. At this point, this is still a developing story. I'm still picking up on little pieces of everything that's going on, but I am so glad that Van Hollen actually decided to go to El Salvador, because who knows what would have happened to this dude. But anyways, chismosas, that being said, I am very curious to know what you guys think about this. I always tell you guys, you need to know your rights and gather your resources, and don't forget to like and follow for more gossip, chisme, and all things tea.